Hi everybody, long time no talk. I haven't made one of these videos in a while. Life happens, and the way I see it, I'll make them if I feel like making them and if time allows, and then if I don't and time doesn't allow, then I don't. I don't like to add extra pressure to myself. So I found a perfect opportunity today, and I've been reading this paper and it's absolutely blown my mind. So I thought you guys might be interested. This is going to be short. This is another document from the CIA FOIA website in the Stargate section. It's titled African Cosmology and the Paranormal. It looks like this document, it was approved for release in 2000, in August 2000. So it's a letter written by a professor at the University of Ghana named Christian Harry Ayisi. So I'm going to get right into the reading. You guys can let me know what you think about it. Introduction. It has been my special preoccupation to find out some special features of activity, experience, and philosophy peculiar with the African, which explain in a significant way some of the mysteries surrounding the paranormal. In this pursuit, I am currently engaged on research in Ghana into sources of psychic power, and I have been studying the activities of various well-known cults as well as a number of individuals privately engaged in occult practices. From my researches, I have found that there is a close link between the paranormal and cosmology as conceived by the traditional African. Cosmology explains the flow and balance of the subtle energies in the universe which bring about and affect all life processes. But beliefs concerning cosmology are prescribed by culture and traditions, and although it is difficult to identify the various peoples of Africa with one type of cultural persuasion, there is nevertheless a sense in which some features of a people's philosophy and behavior could be regarded as being typically African. In this paper, therefore, I am making some generalizations from my Ghanaian experience based on the African persuasion, or the Akan persuasion. The Akans, it's spelled Akans. The Akans constitute the dominant ethnic group in Ghana, and broadly speaking, Ghanaian cultural style is set by them. The central theme of this conference is Psychotronics, our inner cosmos. We are focusing attention on man's inner space with a view to proclaiming the ideal of micro and macro cosmic unity. Okay, this was generated in July 1979. It seems to me that African cosmology throws some light on this. I therefore propose in this paper to relate elements in a typically African cosmology to paranormal practices and then draw some implications for psychotronic research. Traditional African cosmology. The traditional African sees the universe with some kind of wholeness. It embraces both the visible world and the invisible. The African draws no line between material and spiritual forms of existence. Both have reality to him. He sees the universe as invested with mystical powers. This power is ultimately from the Supreme Being, but in practice it is inherent or comes from or through physical objects and spiritual beings. What this means is that to the African, the universe is not static or dead. It is a dynamic, living, and powerful universe. Amen. That's what I'm talking about. I believe the very same thing. The forces which control the universe are the Supreme Being, spiritual beings, and Mother Earth. The most important of these is the Supreme Being. It looks like they call it Anyami, meaning the Shining One, and the only Great One. He is also Otomankoma Abodai, i.e. the Creator. He is Anyankopon Kwame, Kwame meaning a male who was born, who came into being on a Saturday, or Anyami is also used as a term designating the firmament. The Supreme Being retains ultimate control over events and sustains and rules over the world he created, but he is also viewed as transcendent and in some respects remote from his creation. This attribute of transcendence carries the concomitant belief that he has delegated power to other agents, or the spiritual beings, also known as the Ahanham, that more directly interact with human beings. These other agents are accordingly treated as if endowed with an independent ability to act, and they are recognized in their own right as well as in their role of intermediaries with the Supreme Being. Mother Earth, or the Earth Goddess, is designated Asas Ya, Ya meaning a female who came into being on a Thursday. She is the eyed expanse of the earth and is thus polar to Anyame, the firmament. She embodies the concept of fertility. She supports all matter and all forms of biological life and has thus the attribute of dependence, i.e., one who is depended on. Africans have their own ontology, which may be divided up into the following 5 categories. 1. God, the ultimate explanation of the genesis and sustenance of both man and all things. 2. Spirits, superhuman beings, i.e., demons and little people, and the spirits of human beings who died long ago, ancestral spirits, or Nasamanfaho, Anfo. Okay, I can't say that word. Number 3, man, who is a fusion of a soul from God, a blood element from the mother, and a personality spirit from the father. Animals, number 4, animals and plants, or the remainder of biological life. 5, phenomena and objects without biological life. Man is the center of this ontology in the sense that God is the originator and sustainer of man. The spirits explain and influence man's destiny. Animals, plants, and natural phenomena and objects constitute the environment in which man lives, provide a means of existence, and man establishes a mystical relationship with them. This is how the microcosm relates to the macrocosm. In addition to these 5 ontological categories, there is vital force, power or energy permeating the whole universe. This vital force, also called sunsum, meaning move, like a moving force, is what anthropologists call mana or mana, and it may be equated to the term psychotronic energy, or the Hindu pranic energy, or the Soviet bioplasmic energy, or the Chinese qi energy. Sunsum is inherent in people, animals, and things. It is a potent yet neutral energy which can be turned to good or evil ends. God is the source and ultimate controller of this force, but the spirits have access to some of it, and some human beings have the knowledge and technique to tap, manipulate, and use it. The multitude of different types of existence in the universe are unified by their indispensable possession of sunsum. The sunsum is the essence of the being or object, its intrinsic activating principle, and as well as designating the activating essence of particular beings and things, it also refers to the general power to act in non-ordinary, non-physical ways. It is the primary cause of all unusual or inexplicable events. It is thus the power behind all paranormal events. The next section, elements in the paranormal. Whenever pouring libation, the Akan invokes first Anyankopan Kwame, which is the Supreme Being, and then Asase Ya, which is Mother Earth, before intoning his petitions to the spiritual beings. This may be likened to applying a positive charge to a negative charge to produce electric current, which, like psychotronic energy, is a very potent yet invisible power for all sorts of uses. It is significant to observe here that modern witchcraft, even in the West, recognizes the place of earth in rituals. A small bowl containing earth is one of the important things to put on the altar table. Spiritual objects serving the role of intermediaries with the Supreme Being are deities, and talismans, amulets, and charms. The deities are conceived as personal beings who descend to earth independently of human efforts. They are attended by mediums, priests, or priestesses who invoke their power for all sorts of human situations. The amulet has the power of passive protection against the spiritual influences, and it derives its efficacy from one of the basic sources of magical power, which is the power inherent in any object, i.e., the sunsum. The talisman introduces one into active magic and is also protective in many respects. It is the product of intellectual speculation and magical fabrication. Sometimes the talisman is charged with magical power by ritual and incantation. The interesting example of charms in Ghana is known as love medicine. Some of these, which often include sweet-smelling substances such as lavender, are made simply to make the user highly irresistible to the heretofore responsive object of its affection. Women may secure love medicine and make their husbands impotent with any other woman, and a man may guard against the infidelity of his wife or girlfriend by employing medicines that will cause other men to become impotent on her. One other type of power centers around the little people, or the Moesha. They are invoked to perform miracles like telekinesis, teleportation, materialization, and dematerialization. Their services are also utilized in paradiagnostics, paramedicine, and herbal medicine. The power of ancestral spirits also is invoked for the benefit of for other purposes. This is the power invoked and utilized in seances. The Moesha and the ancestral spirits, I can't say the word that they're used for that, are considered to be the power behind poltergeist activities. The power of individual human beings derives from their sunsum, which is again personality spirit. It is the development of this which makes one psychic. This power is also the primary ingredient of witchcraft. Astral projection is an activity of this constituent element in man. A special type of power which lies between witchcraft and sorcery in Ghana is Nzima Bayi, i.e., Nzima witchcraft. Nzima is the far western region. A person who acquires this power is able to become very wealthy in a remarkably short space of time. To do so, however, he must first sacrifice the life of the person he loves the most, like his own child or matrilineal relative, or else relinquish his own sexual potency or fertility. After the initial evil deed, the power acts solely for the good of the individual, but the gains so secured are often of short duration. The person lives to enjoy his new wealth for only a few years, and all his riches vanish upon his death. The power contained in words and numbers, the most fundamental and important source of magic, is also accounted for by sunsum. The reasoning behind the use of words and numbers is the same as in all other types of magic, that they reverberate through the universe, connecting with all similar, though unseen, things. Words readily lend themselves to magical use since they exist on two definite levels. First, as objects, and second, as concentrated symbols or communicators. And there can be no doubt about their extraordinary force. For by putting our thoughts and feelings into words, we define them and we give them reality. In fact, to name in Hebrew means to make appear. And in English, to inform means the same as to give form to something that was previously vague and indefinite. The evocation of the name of a divinity is indeed an attempt to dominate that divinity, to cause it to appear, and to subdue its will. The power of the spell derives from the power of words and incantations. The effectiveness lies in its associations and in its methods of delivery, and in the repetition of ritual that allows its impact to be built and reinforced. Holy cow, that was Yes, words are powerful. Words and numbers are so powerful. They reverberate, they carry a certain vibration. And our society really gets us to use our words to create, in my opinion, dark magic. Back to the paper. The next section is titled Inner and Outer Worlds of Magic. The African feels rather than thinks about magic, and this gives an important clue to the nature of the paranormal. To the African, belief in the paranormal has its roots in the emotions and in the imagination that comes from the inner world of the individual. In the Africans In the African's universe, where everything is conceived as containing a mysterious sunsum or essence, where rituals, spells, and incantations and spirits are as real as any physical object, there is no clear dividing line between supernatural and natural. When operating, the magic worker does not divorce the inner world from the outer, bound up both inwardly and outwardly with the magical art. He does not attempt to critically understand what he is doing. He only exploits the imagination and the emotions. Thus, he achieves cosmic unity. Then also the African notion that all magical processes are simply means of tapping into the occult power, or the sunsum, that is believed to inhabit everything: people, plants, precious stones, and so on, carries with it the important idea of correspondences. For example, metals have many correspondences in magical thought, both parts of the body, with planets, with stars, and with aspects of the earth. The idea here may also be illustrated with the magical power found in plants, which is used extensively in Africa. A shrub which grows in various parts of Africa, which is known as the Okimum viridi or the Onunum, for instance, has both wide medicinal and spiritual properties. Its dried leaves contain 1.2% of an orange-yellow essential oil with thyme-like odor and pungent taste, which mixes with alcohol in proper proportions and is possible source of the drug thymol. Its leaf infusion can be substituted for quinine in cases of fever of all kinds. The root with that of Ocinum canum and of guava with the sap of the plantain stem is a superstitious remedy in Ghana for a snake bite. In cases of delirium, the leaves mixed with gunpowder, then rubbed on the face and body. In many parts of West Africa, the shrub is reputed to drive out evil spirits and demons. Thus, the power contained in the plant operates at different levels. One might be an entirely natural remedy, another might be part natural, part symbolic, yet another wholly symbolic. This operation at different levels, which is entirely natural, or partly symbolic or wholly symbolic, conveys an important idea about all magical thinking in the phrase, as above, so below. And implied in this phrase is a vast system of correspondence between all natural objects. The correspondence between like things, between microcosm and macrocosm, underlies all magical reasoning. It is also an important ingredient in the magical power of amulets and talismans. Any substance, animal, vegetable, or mineral, can be used as an amulet, and the making of a talisman requires knowledge of analogies and their magical correspondences. Okay, I want to take a quick break just to explain that. I think it's making sense, but basically, there is an essence that runs through everything, and one object corresponds with an essence or has historically corresponded with that essence. So when you tap into something, say someone has used, I'm just going to pull, say someone has used an amethyst. Amethyst has been highly used for, let's say, for cleansing the throat chakra. So say thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands or millions of people in the past have corresponded the energy of the amulet with the cleansing of the throat chakra. When you tap into that energy and that prior correspondence, You pull in the energy of every person who has done that before you, which is why people say, oh, Ouija boards are dangerous. Well, they aren't necessarily dangerous if you understand what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing and you could tap into the negative energies that have been that all prior people have tapped into when they used the Ouija board. Same goes for everything. You have to understand that the object that you're using does have a corresponding energy, and you need to make sure that you understand what that corresponding energy is. So back to the reading. Yet another facet of inner and outer worlds of magic can be found in the ritual. The purpose of a spell, for instance, is to use inner power to bring about a manifestation in the outer world of nature. Here also, reference could be made to the witch's pyramid, consisting of the 4 cornerstones of magic from which the whole mysterious edifice of witchcraft arises. These cornerstones are creative imagination, strong will, absolute faith, and secrecy. Without all 4 working together, the arts and crafts of the supernatural cannot be accomplished. But with the pyramid, which represents the inner world, working for the ritualist, he is nevertheless to be sure he has ample knowledge of the universal power tides, the source and the ebb and flow of these cosmic power tides as marked by the movements of the sun, moon, and planets through the solar system, these representing the outer world. The significance of the ritual can also be seen by analogy in the world of the child. He attempts to control the outer world by devising games and ceremonies. An obsessional adult personality attempts the same thing by ordering the outer world. It's interesting they bring up the pyramid that you need to use for control. Remember, it said the cornerstones are creative imagination, strong will, absolute faith, and secrecy. Do we have cults and groups and groups of people who or entities like, I don't know, Masons, for example, who do dark magic in secrecy? They don't want us to know the truth. That's part of the magic. The secrecy is part of the magic. Back to the reading. Actually, it is difficult to tell which world exactly this obsessional personality tries to control. There is no clear answer here, just as there is not in the world of magic, where inner and outer are one. Next section. Implications for psychotronic research. The point has been made in this paper that an important clue to the nature of the paranormal is that we feel rather than think about it. Thus, the magic worker, bound up both inwardly and outwardly with the magical event, does not attempt critically to understand what he is doing. In this way, he is unlike the scientist who isolates himself from an experiment, clearly sees the processes at work, and assumes that the results will always be the same. What this seems to suggest is that researchers into the paranormal must be very careful in assuming that formal statistical considerations based on certain suppositions about the nature of our physical universe and our expectations necessarily apply to some of the studies they undertake. It would also appear from this that the secrets of many parapsychological mysteries lie in the unconscious mind, and therefore our physical world, and presumably all other worlds too, are nowhere but in the mind, at least in the form in which they are known. This seems to suggest that in some paranormal experimental design, the results probably depend on belief in them rather than on scientific laws. Yes. It is the state of your mind and how it receives the information, just like, this is me talking, not the paper, just like with when you plant seeds, it depends on where you plant the seeds, whether the plant will grow and how well it will grow and what kind of nourishment it will give you. Yes, you can throw seeds onto concrete, but is it going to grow anything? If they get down in a crevice, yes. If they get enough water and sun, yes. But it's less likely that they're going to grow when you toss them onto concrete, you have to understand that sometimes with the people you're talking to and you're trying to explain things to, they aren't fertile ground. There is no way that they are going to understand what you're saying or receive what you're saying if they are not appropriately prepared to receive the information or energy that you are trying to provide to them. No amount of further explanation is going to change anything. It depends upon the mental situation and preparedness to accept certain information, whether that person is really going to understand what you're saying. Back to the paper. It would also appear from this that the secrets of, oh, I'm sorry. Let me start back down at the bottom. Belief with clear thought imagery may be needed to create a desired effect. One is here reminded of the beliefs which some psychics have in thought forms, which can be created by thought, endowed with life, and assume what appears to be an independent existence. Side note again, this is also known as an egregore. Perhaps there are two matters here of vital importance to parapsychologists. One is that they are to look inwards at themselves. The other is they are to look for new hypotheses, perhaps in ancient literature, mostly from the East. A further implication is that all things are related by the intermingling of the fields, i.e., the sunsum, surrounding them, and that there are correspondences between all natural objects. It would seem here that sometimes right conditions prevailing might be a better explanation of events rather than cause and effect. The right conditions may be, and probably are, mental conditions. The idea here that patterns of events naturally occur is implicit in Smoot's philosophy of holism and related to Jung's synchronicity. It would seem from this that we may have to develop sometimes different ways of looking at things from those we have been taught in conventional science if we are to advance in psychotronic research. Summary and conclusion. African cosmology sees the universe as a totality in which material and spiritual worlds merge as one. It sees all natural things as having animating spirits of their own, with fields of these intermingling one with another. And this seems to imply that the inner world of the unconscious accounts for much that manifests in the outer world of nature, sometimes through belief in the expected results. It is also suggested that the interrelationships of fields in the universe may account for those occurrences which seem uncaused. In the territory of the paranormal, interesting excursions are made into inner space. In a sense, although traditional believers of the supernatural, often referred to as primitives, generally know less than rational and scientific man, their freer responses nevertheless give them a contact with inner reality, even a mastery of it, that might well be every bit as valuable as external knowledge. So, wow, was that an amazing paper? It was a short paper, but I think it gave us a lot of good insights. First of all, for me, it really helps to reinforce what I know and believe. For me personally, I have a very strong inner current that runs inside my belly. I've got strong beliefs and strong knowing that I am swimming in a unified field and everything touches everything, and there's nothing that I will do, think, experience that is independent from the field and that won't touch everything else in my so-called universe, or more expansively, the multiverse. For me, I have a lot of synchronicities. I mean, I have synchronicities all day long. I will be reading something, reading a word, and someone will say the word, or I will be saying the word and read the word. Numbers all day long. I will think of someone and see them. I will talk about someone and they'll show up. This happens all day long. And the only thing that holds me back from having every single thing that I want to experience in this realm is my inability to believe it. Because I still am running a third dimensional program where I'm back where he mentioned cause and effect. I'm working through getting out of the cause and effect rut. I have in other times in my life overcome that and manifested absolutely impossible things and situations, including money. So I know that it can be done. And this helps me a lot because I have been in a rut. It's part of me knows absolutely that everything happens inside of our minds, and then we attach that mental energy to the fields, and then those fields bring those realities into our awareness. 75% of me holds on to that, but the other 25% of me is still 3D cause and effect. And I have I'm wrong for this, and I'm working through this, but I have a program running, like a tab running in the back of my mind, that if I leave the realm of cause and effect, and if I stop being rational, that somehow my family could suffer because I stopped being rational, even though I know that that isn't true. Every single great success that I have ever had has been what I told when I just flushed the rational down the toilet. And I was like, F that, forget that. I don't care how much sense it makes or doesn't make. My heart says no. And I trash that thing. Every single time I follow my heart, every time I follow the leading in my belly, 100% of the time, things work out beautifully. So I have been in a rut where I have been stuck in the cause and effect. And this just re-encourages me to get out of that and to remember the magic of our world that we live in. Guys, we live in a beautiful, amazing realm where all things are possible. The only things that are not possible are the things that we limit, and our only impossibilities are the things that we cannot possibly imagine. If you can imagine it, it's created, it's done, because you, as a sovereign, sentient creator being, you manifest it when you think it. Why are we afraid to think and believe? Why are we afraid to believe things that seem impossible? Or to believe the unbelievable? Let's do it. Let's believe in wholeness for our planet. Let's believe no more in a media that controls the thoughts of the creator beings in this realm. Let's believe in peace and non-judgment and love for each other and acceptance for each other. Let's believe in a world where the media isn't trying to force us to manifest a reality where everyone is sick or the majority of people are sick. We can turn everything around with our minds. It happens in your mind. It happens in your heart. That's where reality really is, and that's where your magic is. I love you, you magical fuckers.